homage to Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to Manjushri, homage to all the lineage masters. The supreme, profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta before teaching. Now let us continue our teaching on the Bodhicharyavatara. Within the Bodhicharyavatara, we are currently studying the preparation for taking hold of bodhicitta. As part of this preparation, earlier we learned about practicing the 7 branches, offering one's own body, and letting go of self-clinging by dedicating all our virtues to all sentient beings. These instructions have already been explained. Today, we will continue discussing, we vow, that our practice of giving can become a cause for benefiting sentient beings, and dedicate our merit to become the cause for benefiting beings. You could say this is a dedication of the future merit. The other day, when we talked about dedication, we mentioned that all virtues of the future, the past, and the present can be dedicated. So what we are discussing here should be understood as a dedication of the future virtue. How? It is by making the vow or dedication that in the future, the virtue we accumulate may become a cause for helping and benefiting sentient beings. May I be a wish-fulfilling jewel, fine vase, accomplished mantra, great medicine, a heaven tree, and bountiful cow for beings. This verse expresses the aspiration that in every lifetime I may become someone who provides all that sentient beings need, whether it is food, clothing, or any kind of enjoyment, whatever is needed. May I become a wish-fulfilling cow, a fine vase, a wish-fulfilling jewel, an accomplished mantra, great medicine, or a wish-fulfilling tree. These things in the world are extremely rare, precious, and hard to find. May I become such treasures or wish-fulfilling jewels to help sentient beings. This is the kind of aspiration we should make. First, we should understand what is meant by a wish-fulfilling cow. As we have studied this in various sutras and treatises, generally, wish-fulfilling cows are found in the continent of Aparagodania. All the sentient beings in Aparagodania rely on wish-fulfilling cows for their survival. Some texts also say that in the celestial realm there are also wish-fulfilling cows. The descriptions of actual wish-fulfilling cows can be found in omniscient Longchenpa's wish-fulfilling treasury. The so-called wish-fulfilling cow appeared at the beginning of the Kalpa, that is, when human lifespans were 100,000 years. At that time, the wish-fulfilling cow was a precious manifestation arising from the collective merit of sentient beings. Its appearance was quite similar to that of a yak, but what made it truly special was its milk or cheese, which was like nectar. With this, it could nourish and satisfy all sentient beings. People could actually sustain their lives on this alone. So this is what is meant by a wish-fulfilling cow. When we talk about a wish-fulfilling cow, perhaps people today might not know what it is. But as with any product or treasure in the world, over generations, they eventually fade away and disappear. So nowadays, when our lifespans are around 100 years, can we still enjoy the benefits of a wish-fulfilling cow? Well, that might be a bit difficult, but even so, we should still make this aspiration. May we become a wish-fulfilling cow, satisfying and helping sentient beings. As for the fine vase, for all those who wish to obtain wealth, or those who are suffering from disasters or poverty, by relying on the wish-fulfilling vase, they can enjoy inexhaustible treasures that naturally appear. Such wish-fulfilling vases, fine vases, and wish-fulfilling jewels are clearly recorded in Buddhist history. In the past, many merchants, relying on their wisdom and ability, would go to the ocean to obtain genuine wish-fulfilling jewels. If one obtained a wish-fulfilling jewel, relying on its power, it would bring abundant wealth not only to this individual, but also to the entire country he was in. There are historical accounts of the wish-fulfilling jewel. Master Faxian, who is also known as the first Chinese Buddhist master to travel to India, once mentioned in some of his travelogues that when the time has come, when the Dharma is about to disappear from the world, the Buddha's relics will descend into the ocean and transform into wish-fulfilling jewels to satisfy the needs of sentient beings. We also know that in general, wish-fulfilling jewels bring temporary benefit to sentient beings in this world. Then, by relying on a wish-fulfilling jewel, can we attain liberation or unsurpassed perfect enlightenment? That is rather difficult. This can be seen in many stories from the past. But temporarily, in terms of fulfilling the wishes of sentient beings, nothing surpasses the function of a wish-fulfilling jewel. So nowadays, some lamas, in fact many lamas, are called wish-fulfilling jewels. For example, we address His Holiness as Lama Yishin Norbu, and his teacher is called Thubga Yishin Norbu. Yishin Norbu means wish-fulfilling jewel. Now, the Lama abroad publicly recognized as the emanation of Avalokiteshvara is also called wish-fulfilling jewel. These great masters themselves also accept that people may call them by this name, wish-fulfilling jewel. What is the reason for this? It is because a wish-fulfilling jewel is always free from self-centered thoughts and is always dedicated to fulfilling the needs of sentient beings. We have studied this in the Uttara Tantra Shastra, the Introduction to the Middle Way, and so on. In the great Mahayana treatises, the wish-fulfilling jewel is often used as a metaphor to illustrate the Buddha's impartial activity of benefiting sentient beings. So, if we can be like a wish-fulfilling jewel, there is not even a trace of self-centeredness in our minds. Everything we do, every word and action, is entirely for the benefit of sentient beings. In this case, as Mahayana practitioners, how could we not aspire to this? It is certainly a most precious aspiration. So for all of us here, we should aspire, just as our lineage masters have done, to become in every lifetime a wish-fulfilling jewel, satisfying the needs of sentient beings. We should visualize and dedicate in this way. There are also explanations of the wish-fulfilling jewel and its qualities, which are described in the White Lotus of Compassion. We should also aspire to become an accomplished mantra that fulfills wishes in the future, or a mantra that accomplishes all activities of pacifying, increasing, magnetizing, and subjugating. Of course, some commentaries say that accomplished mantra refers to a master or yogi who holds mantras. Some yogis, through their mantras and practice, can easily help countless sentient beings. This is also a valid explanation. In our daily lives, whether it is an accomplished mantra, a dharani mantra, or a secret mantra, the power of these mantras is inconceivable. According to the view of some Vajrayana texts, the mantras we recite are actually no different from the deities themselves. For instance, whether it's the mantra of Avalokiteshvara or Vajrasattva, the very mantra we recite is in fact the actual Buddhas and Bodhisattvas themselves. Apart from the form or the sound of the mantra, there is no other real Bodhisattva elsewhere. So in this world, accomplished mantras are actually a very effective and skillful means to benefit sentient beings. So we should also make this aspiration. May we, in every lifetime, become a powerful, accomplished mantra in the world, helping and benefiting all sentient beings. At the same time, we should aspire to become great medicine, miraculous medicine in the future. That is, medicine that can cure the 84,000 kinds of illnesses. As we all know, in this age of Dharma decline, all sorts of strange diseases keep appearing among sentient beings, endlessly, one after another. If, through the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, miraculous medicine could appear to cure these illnesses, that would, of course, be of tremendous benefit to sentient beings, especially for those who are often unwell. Doctors and great medicine are like their protectors. When people see a doctor, even if they are not sick, they are always smiling, no matter what the doctor looks like, whether the doctor is attractive or not, young or old, no matter their status or wealth. When they see a doctor, they show great respect. It's not for any other reason, but because the doctor gives them injections or medicine. Perhaps that's the reason. Honestly, in our world, there are so many pitiful patients. If we have some real ability, then we should use that to help these poor, suffering beings with good medicine. This can actually bring them a lot of benefit. If you have some medical skills, if you have some expertise in this area, you really should put it to use. Among our Dharma friends here, some of you have studied medicine quite well. Of course, devoting too much time on it might affect your hearing, contemplation, and meditation. But I think since you've spent so many years studying, it might be meaningful to take some time, maybe half a year or even just a few months, to volunteer and help others. I really think this is very necessary. Next, we should also aspire to become a wish-fulfilling tree. In some Mahayana teachings, it is said that the wish-fulfilling tree is grown in the celestial realm. And in some Buddhist sutras, it is taught that in the Western Pure Land, there are wish-fulfilling trees as well. In some of the teachings of omniscient Longchenpa, it is also said that the wish-fulfilling tree appeared when human lifespans were 90,000 years. Whenever a person was born, a wish-fulfilling tree would appear by his or her merit. At that time, people would use the fruit and flavor of the tree for enjoyment and its leaves as clothing for themselves. So the wish-fulfilling tree was actually there to help sentient beings. Back at the beginning of the Kalpa, people's standards of living were much simpler than what we have today. As long as they had enough to eat and something to wear, they already considered themselves to be living a happy life, which is quite different from us today. Nowadays, even though in many ways our economic conditions are much better than before, our desires and our greed have also grown. So we always feel like something is missing. We think, I don't have enough money, I'm so miserable. Or there's always this longing in our hearts, a sense that we're never truly satisfied. I remember when I was very young, there was a neighbor of ours, a herder, who looked after yaks. He was often rather lazy, but he was always in a very good mood. He would often tell our family or other neighbors, that family life is full of troubles every day. When we talk, we shouldn't overthink things. We should get into the habit of saying, my family is doing well, my work is going smoothly, all is well. If we do this, life will be much happier. Otherwise, living in this world is very painful. This doesn't work, that doesn't work. There are always so many problems. So it's very important for us to keep a happy mind. I don't really mind. He would always say, everything is fine, everything is good. As long as there is food and clothing, everything is good, smooth and happy. If you always keep this attitude, others also feel the same way. If you keep saying, this isn't good, that isn't good, I'm busy, I'm sad, that actually doesn't help at all. So sometimes our mood really does play a role. For us practitioners here, it's good to keep a happy mind. Don't always say, oh, today I didn't memorize well, I didn't do well on the test. My health isn't good, the food isn't good, the clothes aren't good, the road is slippery, I'm not in a good mood, the house is leaking. If you keep complaining about everything, life will be very painful. But if we say the opposite, I did okay on the test, the food is fine, the weather is fine, it's okay if it rains or not, everything is fine. If we have this attitude, then indeed life can be quite joyful. All in all, when we make aspirations for all those extremely rare things of the past, like the wish-fulfilling trees and wish-fulfilling jewels, it is probably difficult for people today to enjoy them. After all, some of the things people in ancient times used, let alone 80 or 90,000 years ago, even just a few generations or a few hundred years back, life was already very different from what we know today. There have been huge changes over time. The other day, when I was in Shanghai, I watched a documentary about the 10 years of the Cultural Revolution. The way people dressed during the Cultural Revolution was very different from what we see today. Their clothing and appearance were completely unlike those of modern people. So as time goes by, when people look back, they might think these things are just legends or myths. In fact, these things really did exist. Wish-fulfilling trees and wish-fulfilling jewels with such functions and powers did once exist in this world. But now, as humanity has reached the present day, such things may no longer appear before our ordinary eyes. For example, takes the tools we use today, like the internet, computers, and so on. Many people today rely upon these tools, especially those who are intelligent and knowledgeable. They use them every day for all sorts of work, for society, for the people, and for themselves. But after a few hundred years or a few thousand years, when future generations look back, these things may only exist as historical records. The actual objects may no longer exist. This has to do with the merit of humanity and the course of human history. So no matter what, as long as something can help sentient beings, whether it is a tool, a resource, or any kind of wealth, and whether it is from the past, present, or future, I am willing with all my heart to become such a thing to help sentient beings. You could say this is a new way of thinking. Just yesterday, I asked some Dharma friends here how they felt about the Bodhicharyavatara. Some of them said, it's quite good, it feels fresh and new. In the past, we used to think of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as just people who come to help us. We never thought that all the roads and bridges out there could also be manifestations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. If we start to think like this, it's actually quite different from our old ideas. It's a new perspective. I think this view really makes sense. If we limit the realm of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to something tiny and narrow, that's not reasonable. Nowadays, some Buddhists think of Avalokiteshvara as just a woman holding a vase who comes to help them when they are experiencing suffering. That's all there is to Avalokiteshvara. And as for Buddha Shakyamuni, they think he was just a prince in India who eventually renounced the world, and that's all there is to it. If we look at Buddhism this way, then our Buddhist view of life, our view of the universe, our worldview becomes extremely narrow. This cannot possibly explain the vast and boundless meaning of Buddhism. So, for all of us here, it is only through regularly studying the Mahayana teachings that we can truly develop confidence in the profound and inexpressible meaning as described in the Avatamsaka Sutra. At a certain point, our own way of thinking will gradually expand along with our understanding of the Dharma. Otherwise, even if we call ourselves Buddhists, our vision will remain extremely limited, and that's not a good thing. Therefore, we should try to make this kind of aspiration. Next, we will discuss the second verse. Like earth and the other elements, like space, may I always be the ground, supporting in many ways the lives of sentient beings. This means that just like earth, water, fire, wind, and space, which serve as the basis for sentient beings' survival and support, in the same way, may I, through various forms and actions, be like the four elements in benefiting sentient beings. This is an aspiration of vast and boundless scope. As we all know, in both the material world and the world of sentient beings, the scope of earth, water, fire, wind, and space is truly vast. Whether we're talking about humans, animals, beings in the hell realm, or the entire external world, there is nothing that does not depend on the four elements. If we were to be separated from them, then even our bodies, our dwellings, our speech, or any of our activities, none of these would be possible at all. It is within the domain and function of the four elements that we live, move, and carry out all our activities. If we aspire to be like the four elements of earth, water, fire, and wind, benefiting countless sentient beings just as they do, then the scope of our motivation becomes truly vast. So we should strive to cultivate this kind of aspiration. When we studied the Abhidharma Kosha before, we learned that among the five elements, the element of space pervades everything and is unobstructed. This is its unique feature. It is because of space that sentient beings are able to exist and have room to move, to act, and to interact with the world. Then, when it comes to the earth element, it has the characteristic of solidity and support. With the earth element, sentient beings have a fundamental basis for survival, a ground to stand on, a foundation to rely upon. This is the essential function of earth. As for the water element, everyone is familiar with it. Here, water is not just about moisture or liquid, it also has the function of cohesion and binding things together. With the water element, all things in the world that are gathered together will not scatter or fall apart. Moreover, all kinds of forms and appearances can manifest and be sustained. Then when we talk about the fire element, it has the function of ripening, transforming, and maturing things. Without fire, there could be no growth, no stability, and no development. Without it, even if something arises, it could quickly disappear or fail to reach its full potential. So earth, water, fire, and wind each plays an indescribable and essential role in the vast, boundless universe in which we live. So all of our activities, day and night, past, present, and future, as well as everything that happens in the world, are inseparable from the four elements. So we should make the aspiration to become the four elements. In the Vimalakirti Sutra, the Buddha also said, sometimes I become earth and water, sometimes wind and fire. There is scriptural support for this. By relying on the four elements, we can benefit countless sentient beings. Sentient beings depend on the four elements to survive and sustain their lives, to grow, to develop, to enjoy their lives, and so on. In this way, just like the four elements, we should aspire in every lifetime to benefit sentient beings just as the elements do. It's important to make aspirations in this way. Of course, in the Abhidharma Kosha, the explanations of the four elements are very detailed, but in daily life, we are actually in constant contact with earth, water, fire, and wind all the time. So, for example, when we see water, we can make the aspiration to become like a river. helping sentient beings. Just think about it. If there's no water for even a single day, how could sentient beings possibly survive? Recently, it hasn't rained for a long time, and we were all very worried, afraid that there might be a drought. But tonight, as soon as it started to rain, everyone felt so relieved and happy. So I should aspire to help sentient beings like the water element, whether as rain or a river on the earth. If we see the earth or mountains at that time, we should think, just like the earth and roads provide support to countless sentient beings, may I also become like the earth, supporting and helping sentient beings. The same principle applies to other elements as well. Of course, we can't really see space itself, as we discussed in our Buddhist logic class yesterday, but in our minds we can still imagine space. The perspectives of Buddhist logic and what we are discussing here are different. Right now, we are following conventional designations, so it's fine to say that we see space. But if we follow strict Buddhist logic, then it's not possible to actually see space. Of course, without space, we wouldn't be able to move at all. There was once a senior Khenpo who always said that the nature of space is unobstructed. Space exists. If there were no space, how could we move during debates? We couldn't debate at all. So that I can debate now is actually the qualities of space. He would say this every day, so we should also be grateful for space. If we don't appreciate space, I wouldn't be able to teach and you wouldn't be able to listen. So we should aspire to become these four elements to benefit sentient beings. Now, let's move on to the next verse. Likewise, in all ways for all beings out to the edges of space, may I be, till all pass to nirvana, what gives them sustenance. Now, as the verse says, before all sentient beings, as limitless as the sky, attain nirvana, before they have reached the perfect, complete enlightenment of the Tathagata, may we become all that provides them with sustenance and support through various paths and skillful methods. You could say this verse is also mainly about the four elements, or the various forms of the four elements. May I, too, become like the four elements, helping countless sentient beings, becoming the very foundation of their survival and well-being. The previous verse mainly discussed the four elements in terms of their vast scope, from the perspective of their boundless expanse in all directions. There is no place where the four elements do not pervade. Here, the focus is on time, until all the countless sentient beings in the world attain nirvana, which will take an incredibly long time. During this vast stretch of time, may I, like the four elements, become what sustains and benefits countless sentient beings. In the Compendium of Training, there is a quotation from the chapter of Bodhisattva Akshayamati, which can help us better understand this verse. In that chapter it says, "My body serves sentient beings in all kinds of ways, through all kinds of means, objects, and resources, just like the way earth, water, fire, and wind do." This is actually quite easy to understand. Just like the four elements benefit sentient beings in countless ways and forms, may I too help countless sentient beings in all my lifetimes, throughout countless eons, in all kinds of forms, and with all kinds of resources and skillful means. This is the kind of aspiration we should make. So this verse is mainly about making an incredibly long-term aspiration until all beings attain nirvana. We should cultivate this intention in our hearts. When we look at the universe and everything within it, we see countless particles and subtle dharmas everywhere. Each and every dharma actually brings different kinds of benefits to sentient beings. So we should aspire, just like these four elements, to help sentient beings through various means and forms. We should make this vow. May I always help sentient beings in this way in every lifetime until all beings attain nirvana. In this world, there is nothing that is not an emanation of a Buddha, so there is nothing that we can't aspire to become for the benefit of others. As long as it benefits sentient beings, we can visualize or aspire to become, for example, a camera for someone who loves photography, or a broom for someone who likes to sweep. For someone who likes to sweep, a broom is most important to them, so it's good to become one for their benefit. For someone who likes to drive, we appear as a car in front of them. For someone who likes to drive a tractor, we appear as a tractor for them. We should think in this way. Whatever it is in this world, whether inside or outside, high or low, All things in the world, as long as they are resources or possessions that help sentient beings, we can aspire to become them and help others. In this way, just as we discussed earlier, the scope of our aspirations will become truly vast. If we do not make such aspirations, it will be very difficult to give rise to genuine bodhicitta. So everyone here should truly ask yourself, have I made this aspiration? Have I given rise to this motivation? Earlier, when we discussed the 7-branch practice, the branch of confession is mainly for eliminating obstacles. Then, the branches of rejoicing and offering are about creating favorable conditions. Later, we learned about giving the body, which is to eliminate self-clinging. This is the foundation for truly generating bodhicitta. Now, as we make aspirations to benefit sentient beings, if we truly wish to develop this altruistic motivation, then we must properly train in these essential conditions, as they are the necessary preparations for receiving bodhicitta. They are the essential prerequisites. It's just like entering a school. You first have to take an entrance exam, see if you pass, check if your health meets the requirements, and fulfill various other criteria before you can be admitted. If you meet all the requirements, then you are qualified to attend that school. In the same way, for each of us now, we may all say, I want to take the Bodhisattva vow, I want to give rise to bodhicitta in my mind, but in reality, we should examine whether we have accumulated enough merit, purified our obscurations, and let go of our self-clinging beforehand. Especially now, we should make the aspiration that from now on, we will help countless sentient beings, no matter what we become in this vast world. As long as it helps sentient beings, we are willing to become that. Of course, previous Indian masters, such as Kalyanadeva and Jayasena, believed that all these aspirations discussed in above verses belong to aspirational bodhicitta. But in Tibetan Buddhism, masters like Bhutan Rinpoche and some other scholars hold a different view. They point out that aspirational bodhicitta is specifically the wish to attain perfect, complete enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. But the above aspirations, such as, may I become the earth, may I become space, may I become a wish-fulfilling tree, do not actually contain the explicit thought, I will become a Buddha, or I will bring all beings to Buddhahood. So, Bhutan Rinpoche and others masters, including Khenpo Kunpals in his commentary, believe that these are actually virtuous aspirations, but not truly the content of aspirational bodhicitta itself. In any case, to give rise to bodhicitta, we must first let go of self-clinging within our own mind streams. That is, we must truly give rise to the wish to benefit sentient beings. If this does not arise, then bodhicitta, which is truly a high-quality state of mind, can hardly arise. In worldly terms, bodhicitta is a high-quality state of mind. It cannot be contained in an ordinary vessel. In other words, it cannot arise from an impure mind. As mentioned in the Avatamsaka Sutra, a vajra jewel must be distilled from a vajra object or pure gold, which contains it, but not from ordinary substances. A vajra jewel cannot appear in ordinary substances. In the same way, the vajra jewel of bodhicitta can only arise in a pure, selfless mind. It can only arise from the gold of a virtuous mind. In the ordinary, selfish mind of sentient beings, or in a mind that is always focused on self-protection, can bodhicitta arise? No, it really cannot. Therefore, according to the Mahayana Sutras, it is easy to understand the source of bodhicitta. It arises from those who are eager to accumulate merit, who are willing to let go of self-clinging, and who sincerely wish to benefit sentient beings. Such a mind is truly vast, because with this mindset, one is willing and able to benefit countless beings. It is within such an open and selfless heart that bodhicitta can truly arise. As it is said in Vajrayana teachings, the milk of a snow lion cannot be contained in an ordinary vessel, but only in a truly pure golden vessel. In the same way, for those with a Hinayana disposition, or for those who have no aspiration for liberation at all, it is very difficult for bodhicitta to arise in their mind streams. Therefore, when we discuss the actual ceremony for taking hold of bodhicitta, we must examine themselves. Is our mind truly a suitable vessel for bodhicitta? This is extremely important to consider. So far, we have completed the verses related to the preparation for generating bodhicitta. We have spent quite a few sessions discussing this important section. Now let's move on to the main practice, the actual generation and cultivation of bodhicitta. This part is extremely important. First, I'd like to briefly introduce the meaning of these verses. Then I will also bestow the Bodhisattva vow on you. When conferring the Bodhisattva vow, it is not limited to those physically present here, but also extends to anyone receiving the teaching through television, the internet, or other platforms. Anyone who has the connection and faith can receive the vow in this way. As for whether one can actually receive the Bodhisattva vow online, I believe it is indeed possible. I remember that when His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche was in America, he once watched a video recording of Dujom Rinpoche bestowing an Avalokiteshvara empowerment. At that time, His Holiness said, "I have always had great faith in Dujom Rinpoche, but in this life I did not have the fortune to meet him, because Dujom Rinpoche had already passed away. Even though I never met him in person, I believe that through television I can still receive the empowerment." At that time, all of us present knelt and joined our palms in front of the television to receive the empowerment. We know that His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche was extremely strict about receiving transmissions and traditional practices. If there were no auspicious interdependence or blessings to receive through the television or screen, he himself would not have done so. Therefore, for this reason, I believe that now, if I bestow the refuge and bodhisattva vows upon you through the television or other online platforms, you should be able to receive them just as if you were physically present. Nowadays, there are many great masters in India and Taiwan who also bestow precepts and the refuge vow ceremonies in this way. This does exist, and it should be considered valid and reasonable. Now, we will discuss the main practice, that is, actually taking the bodhisattva vow. The verses for this part say, "Just as all the Buddhas of the past have brought forth the awakened mind, and in the precepts of the Bodhisattvas step by step abode and trained, likewise for the benefit of beings, I will bring to birth the awakened mind, and follow those precepts, I will abide and train myself." The literal meaning should be very clear to everyone. This means that when we prepare to receive the Bodhisattva vow, we should first understand that all the Buddhas of the 10 directions in the past, such as Buddha Shakyamuni, Amitabha, Medicine Buddha, Akshobhya, and so on, all aroused bodhicitta. Among the bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri Maitreya, and countless other bodhisattvas also aroused bodhicitta. Of course, the purpose of taking vows in the Mahayana and Hinayana is not the same. If one takes the Pratimoksha vows in the Hinayana, one should take them just as the Arhats of the past did. This includes the 8 one-day precepts, or the Bhikshu and Bhikshuni vows. All are taken by following the way of the Arhats. As for the Mahayana Bodhisattva vow, we must follow the example of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the past. When the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas were at their causal stage, they made aspirational bodhicitta in front of their gurus and the representations of the 3 jewels, and also generated engaged bodhicitta in actual practice by practicing the 6 paramitas, the 4 ways of attracting disciples, and other practices of bodhisattvas. They also took and upheld the bodhisattva vow according to their own spiritual capacity and commitment. When the bodhisattva vow was fully accomplished, they ultimately attained the fruition with all qualities perfected. In the same way today, I also follow the example of the Buddhas and bodhisattvas, and for the benefit of boundless sentient beings, I arouse the most supreme aspirational and engaged bodhicitta. Then, according to my own spiritual capacity, I will also practice and study all the trainings and disciplines of aspirational and engaged bodhicitta. This is how we should contemplate. Of course, we have already discussed the trainings of the bodhisattva vow earlier. For those of greater capacity, they must refrain from the 18 root downfalls as taught in the Akasagarbha Sutra. For those of middling capacity, they should avoid the 4 root downfalls as taught in the Sutra of Questions by the Wrathful Donor. For those of lesser capacity, as taught in the Sutra of Great Skillful Means, it is sufficient to simply not abandon aspirational bodhicitta. Some Nyingma scholars say that the early translation school masters follow the instructions of the Sutra of the Question of Subahu, which says one upholds precepts according to one's own spiritual capacity. Those with greater capacity can take more precepts, while for those with lesser capacity, it's okay to take fewer precepts. There are such explanations. In any case, to take the Bodhisattva vow, one must give rise to this motivation. Today, everyone present must give rise to this motivation. Otherwise, you cannot actually receive the Bodhisattva vow. It is not that it immediately arises in your mind stream just by going through the ritual. We have finished discussing the preparation. Now we will take the Bodhisattva vow together. Regarding how the vow is received, there are mainly two traditions, the tradition of Nagarjuna and that of Asanga. There are some differences between the two traditions. As for how the vow is received according to Nagarjuna's view, it requires us to recite these two verses 3 times. So we repeat them 3 times. By reciting them the first time, we receive aspirational bodhicitta. The second time, we receive engaged bodhicitta. The third time, we achieve stability in bodhicitta. This view is also shared by Master Sagaramega in India and also by omniscient Longchenpa, as described in his Finding Rest in the Nature of Mind. In the commentary to the ascertainment of the 3 types of vows, Minling Terchen Gyurme Dorje also states that the Nyingma school generally follows Nagarjuna's tradition for receiving the vow. According to Asanga's tradition, after reciting the first verse 3 times, one receives the vow of aspirational bodhicitta. Then, after reciting the second verse 3 times, one receives the vow of engaged bodhicitta. So, according to Asanga, aspirational and engaged bodhicitta are not generated simultaneously but separately. First, one receives the vow of aspirational bodhicitta, then one receives that of engaged bodhicitta. Nagarjuna's view, however, is that aspirational and engaged bodhicitta are generated simultaneously. This is the difference. As for the preceptor, as we discussed before, if you can meet a Mahayana master who is fully versed in all the teachings of Sutrayana and the Bodhisattva vehicle, and who possesses bodhicitta in their own mind stream, then you can receive the vow in their presence. This is one method. If these conditions are not met, you can set up a Buddha statue, a stupa, and a sutra, and in front of the representations of the 3 jewels, join your palms, visualize, make prayers, and receive the Bodhisattva vow by yourself. If even this is not possible, like during the Cultural Revolution, when it was very difficult to find even a Buddha statue or a sutra, then you can visualize the Buddhas of the 10 directions in front of you and request 3 groups of noble beings to care for you. That is, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas of the 10 bhumis, and Vajra Gurus. Supplicate, please care for me, for I wish to receive the Bodhisattva vow in your presence. In this way, you can still take the Bodhisattva vow. So, whichever method you use, they are all valid. In this lifetime, we must strive to have bodhicitta arise in our own mind stream. This is extremely important. So today I would like to take this opportunity to simply bestow bodhicitta or the bodhisattva vow upon you. I hope that on one hand you should think in your heart, for the benefit of all sentient beings as limitless as the sky, from today onward I formally join the ranks of Mahayana Buddhists. I must take the bodhisattva vow. On the other hand, let us all visualize together that we are praying in front of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as well as the Gurus. I will recite once, and you repeat after me. All you Buddhas who dwell in the 10 directions, all you Bodhisattvas on the 10 levels, and you great teacher, the Vajra holders, turn your mind towards me, I pray. Just as all the Buddhas of the past have brought forth the awakened mind, and in the precepts of the Bodhisattvas step by step abode and trained, likewise, for the benefit of beings, I will bring to birth the awakened mind and follow those precepts. I will abide and train myself. all you Buddhas who dwell in the 10 directions, all you Bodhisattvas on the 10 levels, and you great teacher, the Vajra holders, turn your mind towards me, I pray. Just as all the Buddhas of the past have brought forth the awakened mind, and in the precepts of the Bodhisattvas step by step abode and trained, likewise for the benefit of beings, I will bring to birth the awakened mind, and follow those precepts, I will abide and train myself. All you Buddhas who dwell in the 10 directions, all you Bodhisattvas on the 10 levels, and you great teacher, the Vajra holders, turn your mind towards me, I pray. Just as all the Buddhas of the past have brought forth the awakened mind, and in the precepts of the Bodhisattvas step by step abode and trained, likewise for the benefit of beings, I will bring to birth the awakened mind, and follow those precepts, I will abide and train myself.
Chamji Zuzhum Jome Chang, Zuzhum Nambre Tatan, Lopsmebe, Zuzhum Ye, Zuzhum Paro Shenzo, Shanzu Zemjo Rinpoche, Marti Banner Jijerche, Jebanyamba, Mebai, Kone Gondon Pere Sho, Jia Ganda Yanda Lama Dan, Rame Chuji Huala Longshu, Sadan Lamji Yanda Rabzone, Durjin Chengo Gompong Nyer To Sho.
Okay, now you should think, from today onward, from the moment I receive the vow, I have already obtained the essence of the Bodhisattva vow. This is how you should visualize. Tomorrow we will continue to talk about how, after receiving the Bodhisattva vow, we should cultivate a mind of joy. Having taken the vow, now our spiritual disposition is not the same as in the past. Since we have made the commitment before all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to help, benefit, and liberate sentient beings, we should have become Bodhisattvas on the conventional level. Everyone should give rise to a mind of joy. All right, we will stop here for today.
Bandangara Padma Sada Bandangara Padma Sada